Mary, the mother of Jesus, is respected and loved in all Christian traditions and revered in some. Like most mothers, Mary heard what people were saying about her boy and treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. Did she treasure the warning of old Simeon, who said, "And a sword will pierce your own soul too"? Mothers have great expectations for their children, and none less than Mary, given everything that had been prophesied and spoken and promised about the boy that she bore. How were those expectations to be met? Well, let us hear Frederick Buechner in the book Peculiar Treasures and listen to his reflections upon Mary. The time their 12-year-old got lost in Jerusalem and they finally found him in the temple, Mary said, "Behold, thy father and I have sought thee sorrowing." And as things turned out, it was a shadow of things to come. It's not hard to imagine her sorrowing again when Jesus left a good, steady job in Nazareth to risk his neck wandering around all over creation to proclaim whatever he thought it was that he was proclaiming. Part of her sorrow was presumably that she loved him too much for himself instead of for the wild and holy business he thought he'd been called to. Another part must have been that, just like about everybody else who was closest to him in Nazareth, she never really understood what he thought he was doing. And she may well have been one of those who, when he went back home once, decided he must be off his rocker. "He is beside himself," they said, and tried to lock him up for his own good. Maybe some of the things he said to her didn't sound as bad in Aramaic as they do in English. But even so, she can't have been too happy about the time she told him the wine was running out at the wedding in Cana, and he said, "Woman, what have you to do with me?" Or the time they came and told him his mother was waiting outside for him, and he said, "Who is my mother?" adding that whoever did the will of his Father who was in heaven, that was who his mother was. For all the sentimentalising that their relationship has come in for since, there's no place in the gospel where he speaks some special loving word or does some special loving thing for the woman who gave him birth. You get the idea that he felt he couldn't truly belong to anybody unless he somehow belonged equally to everybody. They were all his mothers and brothers and sisters, and there's no place in the record where he offers her anything more than he offered everybody else. No place, that is, except at the very end when, cross-eyed with pain, he looked down from where they'd nailed him and said something just for her. Even here he didn't call her his mother, just woman again. And he didn't say goodbye to her or anything like that. But it's as if here at last he finally spoke to the awful need he must always have sensed in her. "Behold your son," he said, indicating the disciple who was standing beside her. And then to the disciple, "Behold your mother." It was his going away present to her, really. Somebody to be the son to her that he had had no way of being himself. What with a world to save, a death to die. He would be present in that disciple, he seemed to be saying, for her to live for and to live for her. Beyond that, he would be present in generation after generation for her to mother. the Mater Dolorosa, who seeks him always and sorrowing everywhere she goes. Shall we pray? Mysterious and loving God, we thank you for the gift of mothers, their dreams and hopes for their children, and the way that life often works out so differently. Be with all mothers in this season of expectation, whether their hopes and dreams are met or not, and bless them in their loving, their sorrowing, their believing, and their praying for all that they hope for their children. Amen.